The credit card company Visa will be allowing banks in the United States to settle transactions using the stablecoin USDC. We're learning Visa is working in partnership with Circle Internet Group to make this one happen. And the move is part of Visa's stablecoin settlement pilot program. Remember that? Visa saying issuers will benefit from faster funds movement, 7-day availability, enhanced operational resilience, weekends, holidays. They'll utilize those as well. This comes as Circle Internet Group is developing its own blockchain and counts Visa as a design partner. Paul Powers is here, CEO of Physna technology and artificial intelligence expert. Always great to have you on. Paul, thanks so much for coming here today to talk about this move by Visa. Talk about this step, and would we see others taking that same step?
We're already seeing others taking very similar steps. So just to clarify what's happening with Visa, they're now saying that they're going to accept settlement via USDC, which, as you mentioned, that's Circle's dollar-based stablecoin. For those who don't know what a stablecoin is, it's basically a think of Bitcoin, but instead of just being tied to the value, the perceived value of Bitcoin, it's actually tied to a dollar, right? So one stable coin is one US dollar. And so the point of that is think of it like email, right? It does the same thing as a dollar, it's just faster. It's tied to our currency. And so what's actually happening here is right now they're just launching this with I think 2 banks that I know of, Cross River and Lead Bank, but they're planning on expanding this throughout the rest of 2026. We're going to see more and more banks adopting this. For the average consumer, this doesn't matter a whole lot because the credit card experience is going to remain the same. But what's happening on the back end is that these banks are settling overnight. The big story here is actually broader than that, though. It's that you have other companies like Sophie Bank that's launching Sophie USD, right, which is their own version of this. And really, overall, what's happening is crypto in general is moving from speculation into infrastructure.
That's big. And it's not only here in the States, it's happening in the United Kingdom, moving to regulate crypto. The UK Treasury is drawing up new rules to police cryptocurrency markets. So it will require crypto companies, Paul, to meet a set of standards, and it would be overseen by the country's Financial Conduct Authority. The government, the British government, saying the new rules would make the crypto industry more transparent. It would boost consumer confidence. It would make it easier to detect suspicious activity, put on sanctions, etc. What is happening in the UK? Are they moving faster than the United States in terms of regulations?
They are, and I would say that they're keeping up. There's a risk of them moving faster, though. And I say risk because we want the world to look to the US for guidance here. We want to be at the center of this movement. The UK, this actually doesn't launch until October of 2027, right? So, but there's almost 2 years out when the regulation takes place. We had the Genius Act signed earlier this year regulating stablecoins, and I applauded that at the time as being a great movement by this administration to make sure that we stay at the forefront of this. You know, one thing that we as Americans benefit from is that largely throughout the world, the US dollar is highly relied upon and is seen as very stable. As we start moving more and more into this age of crypto, it's basically the same types of transactions. They're just moving way faster, right? And we want to make sure that the US dollar and that the US regulations will remain core to that. So we're making the right moves, but there's always a chance of us being leapfrogged. You know, we're seeing, for example, in China, they're actually creating real world asset tokenization around things like tea and trees. Whereas in the U.S., we're just
let me jump in. We actually have that, Paul. If I could just explain that too, we'll show this. Chinese companies moving towards digital assets. This from Reuters. So no small token. They're converting prized trees and tea into digital assets. And this one is way over my head. What is happening in China, Paul, with this?
Well, this is what we call RWA, right? And all that means real world assets. You're basically saying the ownership or certain rights to a physical item, I'm going to attach a token to it. Basically, think of it as I'm wrapping the rights around something with a tokenized asset. So what that does, it makes it really easy for us to trade not only the physical items, which might be in a different location. I can just trade these tokens with you. But I can also confer or transfer rights really effectively. Like you have a right to 1% of the rent income that we get from this building that we co-own, and I can transfer that really, really quickly. Doing that for things like trees and consumer products is pretty new, though. It's pretty novel. And there's a lot of value to that, right? The value is you don't need to be physically present necessarily to really quickly transfer ownership of certain items. And the concern that I have with China taking that, I'm not concerned necessarily that that's happened. I'm more concerned about how the U.S. hasn't quite caught up there. China is kind of pushing the brakes a little bit on crypto in their country. So maybe that's a good opportunity for America to stay ahead. But there's always a risk of being leapfrogged into space because regulation, as we know, never moves as fast as tech. And while I'm generally very much opposed to regulation around technology, as you pointed out, in the crypto space, it's actually a positive thing. You want regulation because regulation means we have clear playing rules. We understand, and it creates trust.
Right.
There's more transparency in crypto, ironically, now than in many other forms of economic transactions.
Well said. We'll leave it there. Merry Christmas. Paul Powers joining us. Thank you.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Appreciate that. So nearly 100